I am blessed to have a good relationship with my pastor. Hereditary. It's here, ladies and gentlemen, the most anticipated horror movie of 2018. And in Hereditary, we follow Toni Collette. She plays Anne, and she is grieving over the death of her mother. And to be honest, Anne and her mother had a very toxic relationship. It was very troubling, and she's struggling with her grief and how to process her mother's death, while also dealing with all the circumstances and all the new surprises that are happening in her life and her family. And with this being a horror movie, things escalate to some very horrific levels of terror. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a massive horror fan. I watch horror movies religiously. Sometimes 2 or 3 a week, sometimes 2 or 3 a day. Like, I love the genre. It has helped me in a lot of ways. But going into Hereditary, it was unlike going into most movies, where I felt like, yeah, let's watch a horror movie. I was actually scared to watch this movie before even going in. I was having bad dreams before the nights before. I was constantly thinking about this movie because it just seemed like something that could really speak to me personally. I was right. This movie wrecked me, ladies and gentlemen. It really got under my skin in a way most movies never even dare. I'm not okay. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not okay. I don't know if this will be a good review or not. I don't use a script or anything. I just kind of wing it with this channel. And I'm not okay. This movie really messed me up. It got under my skin. There is some visuals, the story in this movie just was just so raw and so real and so horrific that it freaked me out. It really freaked me out. I did not have a pleasant night last night going to bed. I actually have a poster of the movie, and she might have to come down. Ari Aster is the true mastermind behind this movie. His direction, his camera work, the editing in this movie, the lighting in this film, everything feels particularly placed and staged, and it just builds so brilliantly. The story in this movie is traumatic. How this movie depicts family dysfunction is raw and doesn't hold back, and I think not only do I speak for myself when I'm talking here, but I think others will find elements of their own personal life where it is mirrored in this. We are just sometimes seeing the absolute most possible outcome of those personal turmoils, and the trauma and that Toni Collette's character goes through feels so real, and her performance in this is unlike anything I've ever seen. She basically began and ended the award season. She deserves all the praise that she's getting. Her character, her emotional turmoil that she goes on, everything is so raw, everything is so intense and gripping, and it just really freaked me out. Alex Wolff is another interesting character in this film. His arc is probably the most traumatic and sad out of all the stories in this film. I cry a lot during movies, but I don't think I've cried during a horror movie as much in my life as I have with Hereditary. Part of it, yes, is in fear from what I'm witnessing visually, but a lot of it is how much I was able to pull myself into the story and pull myself into the movie. And yes, we are seeing the extremes of those elements, but there are elements of reality embedded all throughout this film. I can't believe this is a feature debut. Like, this is one of the most confident feature debuts I've ever seen. Like, this movie oozes confidence. Like, it doesn't even have to try to be scary. Like, camera could just be going down a dolly, just getting their everyday lives, and I could be absolutely drenching in sweat from what is to come. And the movie is slow. It takes its time. I think the movie's like 2 hours and 7 minutes, and it's an exercise of patience. But you will be rewarded in the end, because the final act to this movie is a big fat WTF moment. Like, you just are. I was shocked at the direction this movie went in. I'm not okay. I'm not. Overall, Hereditary is a masterpiece. The suspense, the tension, the performances in this film from Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, everyone in this film, and Dowd, is just extraordinary. How this movie builds the suspense, how it mirrors our own realities, and how it showcases the horror of family dysfunctions and turmoil and grief is just truly unsettling, unlike anything I've seen. This movie got to me in ways most horror films never touch. Like, most horror films barely reach the surface face value. And to be honest, this movie shows that we as horror fans need to demand more out of our horror movies. That we shouldn't just ask for the bare minimum. That we should be asking for more. And Hereditary shows us what happens when we ask for more. What is beyond the surface face value. How terrifying, how much of a challenge that this movie can provide. And how much of a challenge and horror as a genre can provide, because horror is my favorite genre, because I think horror can challenge us and show us the nasty, but also get us to a place of closure with a lot of things, which is why you've got to go through the darkness to get to the light sometimes. And that's what I love so much about this movie. This movie is the darkness. Now, when you leave the theater, you have to find that light. And I'm still working on that. I'm working on that. But Hereditary really, really challenged me in a way most movies don't. And I think everyone should see this film. As a score goes, I'm going to give Hereditary a perfect score of 5 out of 5. This movie blew me away, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like this was a terrible review. I'm in a state of shock right now. This really wrecked me. I cried so much while watching this movie. There's a confession scene to the very end of this movie. I was just in a puddle of tears. And I'm dying to know what you guys think of this movie. This is a masterpiece. So please let me know in the comment section below. Did you love this movie? Did you hate this movie? This is going to be a very polarizing film for some. It is A24, and they know how to deliver horror films. So yeah. And until next time, you guys, I'm the Slasher Movie, and you guys have just been slashed.